Welcome to Pop Crime TV's The Outlier podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Conlon, and today I have two different cases that I'm going to be discussing. Both are very disturbing and also very perplexing, and both involve minors. I also want to forewarn that both cases are currently under investigation, and I have requested charging and arrest documents for both cases and have not yet received them. So keep all of that in mind as I go over everything that I know and everything that I have. Let's begin with the harrowing story of 14-year-old Emmarae Gervasi, or Emmarae Gervasi, a Long Island teenager who disappeared on December 9th, 2024, under very suspicious circumstances. Emmarae lives in East Patchogue, Long Island, which is about an hour or so outside of New York City, with her dad and her stepmom. In most cases involving minors, and the case that I'm going to be discussing after Emmarae's case, you'll find that their names are normally redacted. Maybe it's because the Emmarae Gervasi case started off as a missing persons case, so the public needed her name, needed her face in order to bring her home safely. But spoiler alert, the Emmarae Gervasi case has taken a really dark turn, with multiple adults being arrested and charged on multiple different counts, but including the charge of second-degree grape. And you all know what I mean by that. And in New York, the definition of second-degree grape is, quote, a person is guilty of grape in the second degree when, being 18 years old or more, he or she engages in sexual intercourse with another person less than 15 years old. As I mentioned, Emmarae is 14 years old, and for whatever reason, all of this is out there in the public. It's being printed in the media, and it was validated or substantiated by Emma's own father, Frank Gervasi, on social media. In fact, Frank Gervasi, when Emma went missing, or when she first went missing, he went as far as to say on social media that he thought his 14-year-old daughter had been trafficked. I was following this case from the very beginning. From the moment that this case got publicity, I was all over it, and I was following a lot of Frank Gervasi's posts on Facebook because he made a post almost every day that his daughter was missing. When he said he thought she was trafficked, I remember being pretty surprised because that is not necessarily a conclusion that I would want to jump to as a parent if my teenage daughter was missing. But he did say that he was working closely with police, so maybe police told him that they found some type of evidence that would indicate she possibly was trafficked. And then I went back and forth because you guys all know police, they don't have to tell you anything. They don't even have to tell the parents anything. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back to December 9th, 2024. It was a very cold December evening in East Patchogue, New York. Emmarae was at home with her father and her stepmother when she had appeared to have lost something. This is according to Dad, Frank Gervasi. She was looking for something she lost around the house. She didn't have shoes on, and at some point she decided to go check outside. And when she went outside, she either willingly entered a vehicle or was pulled into a vehicle. Her father, Frank Gervasi, was not sure. At this point, all we know is that Emmarae got into a black car and she had no jacket and no shoes. Now, just skipping ahead for just a second, I believe that law enforcement used ring cams or surveillance cameras from around the neighborhood to identify who the black car belonged to in order to make an arrest. There's something else I need to point out as well, although I don't have very many details at all, but it was reported that Emmarae Gervasi was wearing a court-appointed ankle monitor. All Dad said about this ankle monitor was that Emmarae had had some problems with drugs in the past, so she was wearing this ankle monitor. And Dad also said, quote, "The person who picked her up at my house, he removed the bracelet, and again, unsavory characters did what they did with her, and she was already under the influence of drugs. She just started wandering aimlessly after that." The type of drugs they're doing, there's definitely a link between the drugs and trafficking. Heavy drugs that they use on these girls to get addicted to traffic them. End quote. I also saw another report where he thought that maybe Emmarae ripped off the ankle monitor herself. We're just not sure yet. After police were alerted of Emmarae's disappearance, the next day on December 10th, Emmarae was seen knocking on doors of a nearby motel called the Bohemia Motel. This is about 12 minutes from Patchogue, where she lived. That's very concerning for a 14-year-old girl to be knocking on the doors of a very seedy Long Island motel. Needless to say that when law enforcement went searching there, Emmarae was gone. There was no trace of her. Over the next few weeks, Emmarae's father, Frank Gervasi, continues with his social media videos pretty much almost every day. In some of the videos, he's begging Emmarae to come home as if she ran away. And then in other videos, he's saying, "Whoever took her, please return her safely to me." So he is basically giving these real-time updates about what's going on in the investigation, claiming that he is boots on the ground himself. And this is also where he shares his fear that Emmarae has been trafficked. On January 3rd, 2025, Frank Gervasi receives an anonymous tip. He later tells us on social media he calls this person a she that gave him the tip, and he says something like she was kind enough to come forward, and I'm paraphrasing, but I remember thinking, well, that's kind of strange. She's kind enough to come forward. I mean, he offered a $15,000 reward for anyone that has information leading to his daughter, so I would hope this person wanted to come forward. But he said that he receives this tip that Emmarae was being held on a boat in Islip near the White Cap Fish Market. Now, the caller said she was too afraid to approach the boat herself, so she gave the information to Frank. And since he wasn't sure that it was valid or not, he did not call law enforcement. He decided to go to the boat slip in Islip himself. This area of Islip is about 20 minutes away, give or take, from Patchogue. So Frank Gervasi drove there, and he did, in fact, find his 14-year-old daughter, Emmarae Gervasi, on the boat. She was by herself, and he describes himself as storming this vessel, grabbing his daughter, and escaping, saving her. He even makes a social media video and a post that day, something like, "I found Emma, more details to come." From that point forward, Frank Gervasi continues to make social media videos, but now he's giving us small updates on Emmarae, saying that she's in a facility getting the care that she needs, but he's kind of switched his focus to helping other children and other Long Island teens who have been missing and or suspected to be trafficked. He's also very focused on some of the heat that he seems to be getting from some people on social media who don't necessarily appreciate his constant updates and constant videos talking about his minor daughter and whatever else is going on in his life. He likes to kind of give himself these pats on the back for getting up and going to the gym and being a good dad and going to work and I don't know, things that a lot of men do, but don't necessarily talk about it. He also was really in the spotlight. I mean, Dr. Phil had him on the Dr. Phil podcast, and he was just hailed as this hero dad by the Daily Mail, the New York Post, and many other media outlets. In the days following Emmarae's rescue and safe return, Suffolk County authorities made two very significant arrests. The first one was the arrest of Francis Buckheit. He's a 64-year-old man, and he actually is the owner of the boat where Emmarae was found. And court documents suggest that this boat was used as a prison to confine Emmarae. Now, when Frank Gervasi rescued his daughter, no one was on the boat allegedly, and Emmarae was by herself and she wasn't tied up or anything like that. But reportedly, there were, quote, lookouts to monitor her movements. I don't know enough about that, and I don't have these charging documents. I also want to point out that Frank Gervasi seemed to point to Buckheit as a person of interest before he was arrested by law enforcement. He was showing screenshots of Buckheit's Facebook on his Facebook when he was making these videos, and he was saying that this guy was direct messaging Emmarae and a few other things. So I'm not sure if law enforcement indicated that this was their POI to Frank Gervasi, and maybe he just kind of jumped the gun a little bit. Or perhaps Frank Gervasi knew this Buckheit character. I'm not sure. What I do know is that when Buckheit was arrested, his lawyer, Danielle Papa, told the New York Post that there was, quote, more to the story. Now, the second arrest was made, and this was the arrest of a man named Bunice Knight, who is a 47-year-old man, and this is who law enforcement believes that Emmarae got into the car with on December 9th. Knight is charged with second-degree rape, endangering the welfare of a child, and 3 counts of criminal sale of a controlled substance, specifically cocaine. Now, according to court records, Knight allegedly had sexual contact with Emmarae at his Jervis Avenue home on January 2nd, just one day before her rescue. He also has a really troubling criminal history. He previously served over 5 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to narcotics trafficking in 2004. But during his arraignment, he pleaded not guilty. To my knowledge, both men were able to post bail and ordered to stay away from Emmarae Gervasi. As I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, this case is an ongoing investigation, which leads me to believe that there will be more arrests. And there are a few troubling things that I do want to point out. I have heard a lot of different rumors that I don't think that I would like to repeat on a podcast because I can't substantiate them. But one thing that I do want to say, because multiple people in these Reddit threads had said the same thing, and they live in the area, they had said that Emmarae was supposed to testify or be a witness in another case with some very unsavory characters. I don't know the scope of that. I don't know the validity of that. However, I believe it. So I'm going to say take that information with a grain of salt, but just keep it in the back of your mind. And as I was going down this rabbit hole, I did investigate a few of Emmarae's social media platforms. And I just want to add that there are a few accounts right now on Facebook and on Instagram that appear to be fake. I don't know who would do that, who would make a fake account for this poor girl who has just, been through it. But I took a dive into her Instagram from about 4 years ago when she was 10 years old, and it was just really troubling. She appeared to pose provocatively in bathing suits, really not looking like a 10-year-old. And what was a little odd was that her dad, Frank Gervasi, commented on this photo in particular of her in a bathing suit. And I was just like, wow, oh my goodness, if that was my dad, or let's say that was my kid, I definitely wouldn't be casually commenting. I would probably stage some sort of intervention, but that's just me. And then I came across another video that she did when she was 10 or 11. And I mean, I don't want to sound gross, but it seemed to have this sexual connotations with an ice cream cone. And there's dad again commenting, oh, adorable. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, this is not adorable. This is a cry for help. And it makes me really, really sad. I dug into her TikTok, and I know this is her valid TikTok, but I found a photo and she's wearing a bra and underwear, and it says, quote, when he find out your real age and still think shit's sweet. Yeah, that is very, very troubling. And I'm beginning to think that there might be a bit more to this story. I guess I'm not sure how a parent can't exactly see what's going on here, but I also understand that teenagers are tough. It's hard to control a teenager, and it's so hard to be a parent. So I definitely don't want to judge anyone. I'm having a hard time. And the last thing I'll say is that I did find that dad, Frank Gervasi, he does have an active rhymes with corn, Cornhub account where the videos are pretty public and there for everybody to see of Frank and I'm assuming Emmarae's stepmom engaging in pornographic acts, but also there was an email address listed for people that were interested in joining them. So, did they engage in these sexual acts at home with other people that they tried to source through email or through Cornhub? I don't know, but if they did, this doesn't seem like the best environment for a teenage girl who already has previous drug problems. Or this is nothing and I should just shut up because Frank Gervasi's private life has nothing to do with his daughters. I hate to jump to conclusions when I don't have all the information, but I did just want to point all of this out. And I'm sure law enforcement is looking into it if they saw a problem. And I thought to myself, could this be a Jean-Benet Ramsey situation where the parents aren't directly involved, but they could be looked at for neglect? And neglect could mean just allowing your child to be in certain situations that are highly inappropriate or highly dangerous. I guess we will wait and see. But I also just want to repeat and add that Frank Gervasi has turned his anguish into advocacy, and he's vowed to help other families dealing with similar nightmares, like the one he just went through. And he also has expressed major gratitude to the community for their support during the month-long search. And he has actually also created a YouTube channel where he talks about his ordeal and how he wants to help others. I hope Emmarae is getting the help she needs. I will continue to pray for her, and I will continue to keep a close eye on this case. Let's now go over to South Jersey, a place called Cape May Courthouse. This is around 45 minutes outside of Atlantic City. A teacher, 34-year-old Laura Caron, who taught, or I guess she still has her job, and we'll get to that, at Middle Township Elementary School. She is facing charges of aggravated SA, and endangering the welfare of a child. Now, what's even more shocking is that authorities allege that Laura Caron had a years-long sexual relationship with one of her students, resulting in the birth of a child when this victim was just 13 years old and she was 28 years old. So let's unpack the details of this disgusting case and what's going on right now. I know that she's innocent until proven guilty, but ew, what is wrong with people? Ugh. Okay, so the allegations against Laura Caron are really disturbing. Investigators claim that this abuse and this grooming began in 2016 when the victim was just 10 or 11 years old, and it continued until 2020. According to court documents, the victim, this boy, and his siblings initially stayed at Laura Caron's home 1 or 2 nights a week as she was friendly with his parents. And then this quote situation of them staying at her home 2 nights a week developed into this living with her permanently thing. Now, Laura Caron was reportedly called a quote, resource family parent. Now, this is a term that New Jersey uses to describe foster parents, specifically a foster situation that hopefully will end with the reunification of the children and their birth parents. Now, it is unclear to me what was going on in the family household that the three siblings had to go stay with Laura Caron, but nevertheless, they did, and then this is what happened. Caron is accused of grooming the victim and engaging in sexual acts with him during the time that he lived with her. The victim's sister told investigators that Laura Caron would enter the bathroom while he was showering and then lock the door behind her, and then they would both come out all wet and in towels. The victim's sister also told investigators that Caron and her brother, the victim, shared the master bedroom. And when Caron's baby was born in 2019, the boy, or the victim, moved all of his clothes into the master bedroom for good. The sister even describes witnessing one of the assaults by Caron to this victim, and she never reported it because she was a bit confused. Let's fast forward to 2024, and at this point, the boy or the victim is probably 18 or 19 years old, and his dad wrote a Facebook post that actually launched this investigation. The post had a photo of Laura Caron's son, and he also tagged her in this post. And it says, quote, "One or two, perhaps more, could call me many of things, but never ever could I be called a dummy. Tell me y'all don't see what I see. If that ain't my exact DNA, it's definitely my son's, and we both know I never touched you. Stay tuned, it's about to get spooky in Coho." End quote. And I cannot see the photo that he posted. Again, I'm assuming it's Laura Caron's son, who's probably 5 or 6 years old at this point. I found this screenshot from an account called Sherry News on Facebook, and I've linked that out in the episode notes. Following this cryptic Facebook post, the Middle Township School's superintendent, Dr. David Salvo, reported to Middle Township Police Officer Thomas Runyon that he received an anonymous tip regarding a teacher who may have had a sexual relationship with a student, as per the criminal complaint, and the teacher was identified as Laura Caron through the Facebook post. Now, when they launched the investigation, allegedly, the victim, or the boy, admitted to his mother via text that he was, in fact, the father of Laura Caron's baby. According to the victim's younger brother, he also stated that his brother admitted to him over the phone that he was, in fact, the father. He admitted to his mother and his brother and law enforcement, allegedly, that he kept it a secret for so long because he feared of getting Laura Caron in trouble. If she is convicted of aggravated SA, she could face 10 to 20 years in a New Jersey state prison with an additional term of 5 to 10 years for the other two charges. This is serious. However, I will say that the school has placed her on administrative leave, paid administrative leave. That's wild to me. And I understand that you are innocent until proven guilty, but I feel like if this was the other way around, where it was a male teacher and a female student, it would be a little bit different. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like he'd be out of there. And from everything that I've seen on Facebook, and I've also spoken to a couple people that are indirectly related to people in this area of Cape May County Courthouse, and they all say that they are shocked. Nobody suspected that Laura Caron would allegedly do something like this. Apparently, she was a former college basketball player and she was an overall nice person. I mean, again, if she's guilty of this heinous crime, and I have to think that she is, I feel like, what is she going to say? Is she going to pull the mental health card? What can you possibly say in this situation? Karen is currently being held at the Cape May County Correctional Center, and her bail has been revoked. Karen has a detention hearing that should be scheduled for next week, and more details about her case and her potential defense will most likely emerge. I'm, again, really interested in what she has to say. What the hell is her defense going to be here? And I also want to know how this went unnoticed for so long, this relationship. I mean, did this boy have a relationship with his parents who he didn't live with? It sounds like he probably did. How did they not notice? Cape May County Courthouse is a really small town. It's about 6,000 people. So I really have to think here that so many adults failed this boy. There's got to be more to this story as well, and I plan on following it. And lastly, I'd like to read the press release that's dated January 15th, 2025, from the Cape May County Prosecutor's Office referring to the arrest of Laura Caron. Quote, Cape May County Prosecutor Jeffrey H. Sutherland and Chief Michael Emmer, in conjunction with Chief Tracy Super of the Middle Township Police Department, announces the arrest of Laura Caron, age 34, of Cape May Courthouse. Ms. Caron, a fifth-grade teacher at Middle Township Elementary School, has been charged with aggravated SA, and endangering the welfare of a child. The charges stem from an investigation revealing that between 2016 and 2020, Ms. Caron engaged in an inappropriate sexual relationship with a student born in 2005 who had been residing in her home during that time. On January 15th, 2025, the Cape May County Prosecutor's Office, Special Victims Unit, along with the Middle Township Police Department, Detective Unit, took Ms. Caron into custody without incident. Subsequently, a court-authorized search warrant was executed at Ms. Caron's residence. Laura Caron was charged with aggravated SA, a crime of the first degree, SA, a crime of the second degree, and endangering the welfare of a child, a crime of the second degree. Ms. Caron is currently being held at the Cape May County Correctional Facility pending her initial court appearance. Prosecutor Sutherland advises that individuals charged with a first-degree crime are subject to a term of imprisonment of 10 to 20 years in a New Jersey state prison, and individuals charged with a second-degree crime are subject to a term of imprisonment of 5 to 10 years in a New Jersey state prison. Prosecutor Sutherland issued the following statement: This arrest underscores the unwavering commitment of our office and law enforcement partners to protect the children in our community. Teachers hold a position of great trust, and the allegations in this case represent a deeply troubling breach of that trust. We will work tirelessly to ensure justice is served and to support the victim and their family throughout this process. End quote. Middle Township Police Chief Tracy Super also commented on the arrest, stating, quote, "The welfare of our children is of the utmost importance, and we are fully dedicated to pursuing justice in cases like this. Parents and guardians place immense trust in educators, and when that trust is violated, it impacts everyone. I want to personally assure the parents of Middle Township that we are taking every step possible to ensure the safety of their children. Our department is working closely with the prosecutor's office to ensure that every aspect of this case is thoroughly investigated. If there are others who may have relevant information, I urge them to come forward immediately. No piece of information is too small when it comes to protecting our community." End quote. In response to the incident, the Middle Township School District has been notified and is cooperating with law enforcement. Counseling and support services are being made available to students, staff, and families who may be affected by this news. Prosecutor Sutherland urges anyone who may have additional information relating to this investigation to contact the Cape May County Prosecutor's Office Special Victims Unit at 609 465 1135 or anonymously through the prosecutor's office website at cmcpo.tips, as well as through the Cape May County Sheriff's tip line at cmsheriff.net and click on Anonymous Tip, or through the Cape May County Crime Stoppers line at 609 889 3597. End quote. That statement seems like total damage control to me, because this type of grooming and these alleged acts, they went on way too long without being noticed by anyone in the community or the school. This reminds me of Mary Kay Letourneau. I just have to wonder here, will this boy wait for Laura Caron in prison like Vili Fula did? And they were actually married for a long period of time and had even more children when she was released. And Vili was 12 years old when he began his relationship with Mary Kay Letourneau, and she was his sixth grade teacher. So it's a very eerily similar case. But as I said, I will keep an eye on this one, as well as the terrible Emmarae Gervasi case. I'll be looking out for more arrests in that case, and I'll try to keep everybody updated. So thank you again for listening to The Outlier on Pop Crime TV. Stay informed, stay alert, and as always, stay safe.